As someone that's reviewed hundreds of movies, I know Abigail would have been a great horror movie if it didn't make these two secret mistakes. So today, let's discuss why these mistakes ruined Abigail and how they impacted you without you even knowing. Now, right off the bat, it's clear the movie wanted to be fun and lighthearted while also keeping horror in the mix. That's kind of how comedy horror works. But what if I told you, slowly and slowly, by the end of the movie, all of the horror was sucked out? All of it. Now, there are two major reasons behind this, and the second one most people haven't even talked about. First reason behind this is the fact that Abigail completely ruined the balance between comedy and horror. And they did that as soon as they made the sinister Abigail just another fun character, because the balance of the movie was the fun part comes from the jokes and the drama between the kidnappers, and the horror part came from the demonic Abigail girl that was trapped in her room. These were the two parts to the puzzle, and at first they did a great job at balancing this. The kidnappers were cracking jokes, watching cartoons, and the horror child was locked away in a secret room. Here's where things took a turn for the worst. Abigail eventually fights the kidnappers, and after some tight wrist grabs, she gets locked in a cage. And unfortunately, this cage right here is genuinely the first instance the movie starts to go downhill completely, and the entire balance between comedy and horror is ripped apart. The reason this moment is so important is because her being trapped in the cage basically ruined all her scary aura. Abigail starts having normal conversations, she starts striking up jokes, and sort of brings out the human side of her. Now, even the horror figure has been brought to light and stripped of any mystery. So if the comedy portion is here and existing, but the horror portion is like kind of down here and it's kind of suffering because the entire demon behind it has been revealed, now you can see how the balance starts to fizzle out. It's like when Playboi Carti, a famous rapper whose entire aura is wearing animal masks and being all cool and mystery, it's when he finally got arrested. All of that entire cool aura was diminished in literal one arrest. We see his whole face, he's sitting there all like, sorry, what did I do? Like, it's raps for you, buddy. It essentially ruined the entire intrigue and reputation behind the person. The same thing happened here with Abigail. She is no longer scary. Have any of you watched a horror movie where the main character has a conversation with a demon? Just a casual conversation? Oh, you haven't? This is exactly why. This is why. Once we visually see Abigail trapped behind a cage, all the power behind her name is ripped out of our minds. That's the psychological part of it. It's ripped out. Which is why right after the scene, when I was watching this in theaters, I thought of her as way less of a threat. Like I wasn't tripping about her. I'm not gonna lie. Like no, she's not scaring anybody. She's not scary. Now, before we move on to the second big reason behind the movie's downfall, we can easily talk about a solution for mistake one. Do not expose the horror. Instead of Abigail losing the fight with the kidnappers this early in the movie, she should have won and ran off to some other sector of the mansion. This would have maintained Abigail's horror image, which would allow the movie to keep Abigail as a threat and allow her to keep her suspense. But now the second reason I'm about to talk about is about to sound insane, but it's the wrong use of blood. Let's compare the blood usage in Abigail by looking at another movie that did a great job using blood. Immaculate. What Immaculate did well is that it used blood when it was deserved. Every single use of blood has a strong reasoning behind it. Keep that in mind. A nun falls off the roof, so we see a skinless face with blood all over it. A nun talked bad about the church, let's cut her tongue off and use blood to send the messaging. The blood made an impact only because the moments deserved it. Now tying back to Abigail, in the first half, everything was great. A very low amount of blood shown, so it had the rarity, everything was very PG, and then boom, we see Dean's head cut straight off, just sitting on a chair. Oh my god, bro. It was so amazing. Oh my god. Because it was so random. Gore was unheard of up until this point, so basically you're going from 0 to 100 and everyone's like, oh my god. That's right, that right there, that 0 to 100, that right there is the secret sauce. And so the worst mistake happened when Abigail maintained the 100 all the way throughout the ending, all the way. They were just at 100 level. This was such a bad move on their part, and with the knowledge I taught you guys about today, we can both piece together why it was such a bad move. Let's talk about it. After Sammy's head blew off 20 minutes left in the movie makers decided to keep shoving gore down our throats, such as when this guy drank raw blood to become a vampire and we see him vomit all of it out, or when seconds later he stakes the old man who explodes blood all over the room. The use of blood here is now no longer rare here and it's happening excessively. It's just happening too much for no real reason, which does two things. It takes away from the actual impact of the blood, but it also just kind of just makes it funny now. Like the explosions just looked a little cartoony at this point. Best way to explain it is the movie turned into a zombie movie in the end. A lot less horror, a lot less comedy, just throwing in a lot of blood, biting, just you know what I'm saying. You get what I said right there, right? Okay, cool. So I'd say on average, the movie did serve its purpose. Most people were happy with the fun nature of it. Okay, cool. But sweethearts, my 2 points here today more focused on the horror aspect of it and how they could have kept the horror there. If they kept the balance, I truly think the movie could have been way better than what people thought. Comedy was there, 100% funny. Angus Cloud, oh, I'm a druggie. I laughed, baby girl, I laughed. But I need you to keep this here too, okay? I need you to make the good blend, and who knows what the movie could have become. You get what I'm saying? Abigail gets a 7.2 out of 10 from me. Now click here to watch Immaculate, who did a way better job at using blood. Here's another random movie right here. Subscribe, and I love you guys. Kiss me, mama. Deuces.